Okay, I don't know why, but apparently, I guess they make us watch Chicago Bears games every primetime slate. I don't know why they're always on Sunday night, Monday night, whatever it is. I guess they thought that Justin Fields was going to be the second coming this season, but that game sucked. This week sucked. Fantasy football sucks. Like, I will say, I'm on tilt right now. This is probably not going to be a good draft because on Underdog Fantasy, where we're about to get some drafts going, it looks like we're going to have a considerable amount of teams making it to the next round in the big dog draft, whether that's 2 or 3 teams. That's enough to have a real shot at $100,000, a real shot at it. But all of those teams that look like they can advance have Travis Kelce on them. So what now? If Kelce misses Sunday, I'm just dead in the water. Like, bravo to the people who drafted Mark Andrews instead. Bravo to the people who drafted Hunter Henry that were able to advance without Kelce. It's just so damn frustrating. Nonetheless, let's go through and let's get this draft going. Hopefully we got enough people coming out here. If not, we may not be able to get one. We'll see how many people come out to the live stream. Obviously, near the end of the year, it's going to be a little iffy. And of course, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you have not done so already and you want to come out to these drafts. This is going to be a $5 2022 Underdog draft. And one thing that I really want to talk about is I know a lot of people have been going over and a lot of people have signed up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. They got their first deposit matched dollar for dollar. I don't know how much they deposited, but it's up to $100. So if you deposit $75, they add another $75 into your account. One thing that I really want to say is at this time of the season, I think it's a good idea to go through and have some fun, get into these 2022 drafts. But the tournament drafts that they're going to be hosting throughout the entire offseason, that's what you want to save your money for. So say if you go through and you deposit $50 on Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK through the link in the description of the video and you have $100 sitting in your account, do not, and keep in mind, they're the sponsor of this channel. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but we're going to say it anyway because this is how I feel. Do not go and do not fire up the $25 drafts right now. Unless you're a millionaire, unless you got money to burn, don't do that. I would say get into the $5 drafts, essentially treat them like mock drafts. That way you can practice and that way you can be a sharp drafter whenever the tournaments open up. So please, please, please don't go through and just blow all your money right away on Underdog Fantasy. Save it for the offseason. Please just do the $5 drafts unless you're a millionaire. And if you are a millionaire, you should have donated a couple Bitcoin to the stream already. I will say that. But let's get this going. Let's check out the chat. Jason says, RIP Chris Godwin. Yes, RIP Chris Godwin. What sucks with Godwin as well, with his injury being so late in the season, we're going to have to worry about it lingering into 2022. And he's a free agent this offseason. He was playing under the franchise tag. Like, sucks for Chris Godwin. And then Isaiah coming out says, someone in my league dropped Antonio Brown. Yeah, Antonio Brown looks like he could straight up be a league-winning wide receiver at this point. Really quick, let me pull up this stream. I apologize. It's probably going to take me 1 second to get all this sorted up. Probably should have done that before we went live, but it is what it is. And it looks like we're going to be picking at the 108 in this draft. Okay, so we'll be at the 108. Let me line this up. That should be good there. And I'm sorry for jumping around. We just have to make sure that everything is set up perfectly here. And let me see who all we have out in this draft. Okay, so we have, I believe, a lot of new names out here. We got JN out here. I believe Luke is out here. I think these are a lot of new names. Welcome into the draft. Hopefully, y'all get crushed. Hopefully, we're able to come away with the W this draft. Najee Harris going at the 102. That is a little interesting. Okay, so Caesar coming out says, thankful for being on the bye now. Eckler on the COVID list. Now, one thing with Eckler on the COVID list, I don't know if he officially is. I know that it was reported that he was on the COVID list, earlier today. And then I read a report tonight saying that he wasn't officially placed on there. They were saying that possibly he's going to get officially placed on there tomorrow. I don't know about that. Like Jimmy says, are you answering questions before tomorrow night? No, I'd be happy to answer any questions as we go through this draft, though. I mean, with these drafts, I just have a ton of fun doing these, and I want to be able to still be available for y'all every single night live. I want to be able to go through and answer your questions. So I figured let's still do those live streams, and I'll still go through and answer your start sit questions or whatever they may be for the fantasy football playoffs. But I want to have some more fun with it. I also want to get into a fantasy draft as we do it as well. Okay, so let's go through, and I apologize just one more time. I'm going to do that to you one more time. Okay, so now we should be up to make our selection. We're going to be picking at the 108, and to no surprise to anybody, when we are at this point in the season, I'm going running back, running back, running back, running back, running back, running back. We're taking a running back in the first round. I'm never going to be taking a wide receiver unless we're getting like Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams at like the 110, 112. We're going to take Dalvin Cook at the 108. Y'all know my most common start last year was going through and, taking Devontae Adams or Travis Kelce in the first round. I thought in the middle of the first with guys like Ezekiel Elliott there, it was really a dead zone for the running back position, and I was viewing Joe Mixon in the same exact tier as those guys in the second round. So yeah, and last year, near the beginning of the season, I'm willing to take those wide receivers a little bit earlier, but that's when we know the running back depth charts and how we can go through and we can attack them later on in the draft. Right now, we have no idea what the running back depth charts are going to shake out to be. So I think just getting your guaranteed running back touches early going to be a good idea. Okay, Alex coming out says, Mason, I can't wait to take your money. Good luck on that one, my friend. Good luck on that one. Okay, Luke says, wait one sec. Sorry. Jay says, draft Ridley, McCaffrey, and Darren Waller. Great picks. Hey, great picks. Hopefully you get Darren Waller back this week. If Darren Waller is back, I think it probably makes life easier for some other players in that offense, including Josh Jacobs. I think really the only player who would actually hurt would be Hunter Renfrow. Scissors coming out says, Mason, I'll be ignoring all my imposes next year during the draft and strictly follow your advice. Cannot afford another. Says, did you really come in last place this time? That is brutal, my friend. That is brutal. I am sorry to hear that my monkey brain just went through and impacted your drafting to lead you to get last place. That is horrible. I know you were saying that it was to the point where you were on the border. Oh, God, we got Devontae Adams sniped from us. I know you were saying you possibly were going to make the playoffs. To go from possibly making the playoffs to last place is pretty damn bad here. Okay, so now our next pick, obviously the thing is, I do want to go running back early. If we're going to get Justin Jefferson here, it's either Justin Jefferson or Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson has an ADP of 20. Justin Jefferson has an ADP of 9. So yeah, I want to grab our running backs early, but at some point we probably can't go that route. At some point we probably just have to take the quote-unquote value, and we're also going to be getting that Minnesota Vikings stack in here with the combination of Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. Scissor says, I needed 3 points from Lamar Jackson. He got 1. My friend, are you talking about, okay, 2 weeks ago, I was going to say, what the hell, Lamar Jackson did not play this week. Oh, that is brutal, my dude. P-Man says, any fantasy punishments for last place? Yeah, Scissor, let me know if you have to do a punishment for last place or something. I will say I've never played in a league where you have to go through and do a punishment for last place. I honestly think that would completely change my strategy, where y'all know I'm always about going for broke. I'm always about going through and trying to build as much correlation as we can in, try to build those stacks. That way, we're either first place or last place. I don't want to be a middling team. If you had a last place punishment, I heard someone in the YouTube comment section, of course, they're probably lying. Of course, they're trying to be funny. It was pretty funny. They were saying that in their league, the winner gets to choose the tattoo for a loser, and they were going to make them get a Fantasy Flock Network tattoo if they won the league, which would have been pretty funny. But okay, so now let's go through and Get Gage says, can you do a Dynasty 2022 draft? Yeah, I went through and I did a Dynasty 2022 draft on the Dynasty channel last week. I'll get another one going, hopefully a little bit later this week. That'll be posted over there on Patreon, of course. Okay, so Blake says, Diggs or A.J. Brown next week. So yeah, A.J. Brown is going to be getting activated off the IR, and it's funny. Julio Jones, how long did Julio Jones last this week? That's horrible. Cameron says the only punishment I've seen that I liked was the Waffle House one for 24 hours. Yeah, that one was pretty funny. The Waffle House one for 24 hours. I would be so mad. I'd be so mad. Okay, so Jayan says, gonna have fun with this draft. Jayan decides to go with a little bit of a Kansas City Chiefs stack here with Tyreek and Kelsey. Okay, so you got Ashton coming out and going running back heavy early. Taylor, Akers, and David Montgomery. Really, no teams stand out at this point. It's 2 rounds. Brandon says, Mason, a wide receiver and a running back on the same team is not a stack. That is a handcuff. My friend, I do not know how long you've been playing fantasy football, but this is not called handcuffing. This is not handcuffing, big fella. Okay, so Jeffrey coming out says, got Josh Allen, Hollywood Brown, Cordell Patterson, AJ Green, Antonio Brown, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, Melvin Gordon, Gronk, Kyle Pitts. Any pickups? Got Amaro St. Brown, Russell Gage, Gabriel Davis, Duke P. Ryan on the wire. Thanks, and Hookamores. Thank you, my friend, for coming out to the stream and throw up the Hookamores. And actually, I would go through and I'd pick up Amaro St. Brown on this team, because I think with Amaro St. Brown, you could talk yourself into possibly playing him at wide receiver 3. I definitely prefer him over someone like AJ Green. And I maybe even prefer him over someone like Hollywood Brown. Obviously, prefer Antonio Brown over him. But, I mean, at running back, yeah, I'm not going to be really picking up Duke Johnson or P. Ryan off the wire over Amaro St. Brown. St. Brown would be my guy. Thomas coming out says, let's go Justin Fields, garbage time. Get me to the next round of the playoffs. Happy to hear that, my friend. Happy to hear that. Okay, so Leonard Fournette going at the 305. Okay, let's switch this back. Okay, so at the 308, Ezekiel Elliott. And yeah, Chris Godwin has to significantly fall from here. Keep in mind, if you're drafting on Underdog Fantasy and you're getting in one of these 2022 drafts, you are not going to have the fantasy football playoffs at the end of the season. Instead, it's just who can score the most points throughout the regular season. So someone like Chris Godwin that may miss the beginning part of the regular season after a torn ACL this late in the year, it's a completely different scenario than J.K. Dobbins tearing his ACL before the season starts. I'm actually probably going to be looking to avoid guys like Chris Godwin. Here, do we want to go wide receiver? Do we want to reach on a running back? We're going to make a nasty pick. We're going to have to reach on a running back. We're going to have to reach on Josh Jacobs. You know Jacobs going to be starting next year. I mean, this is a running back that was selected in the first round in 2019, still in their rookie contract. And I know that obviously you kind of prefer having DeAndre Hopkins on your team over Josh Jacobs, but we've done enough of these drafts to know that the running back position a little later on is going to be disgusting. And I can tell you right now, the wide receivers that we will have available to us, I mean, the 5th, 6th round, the wide receiver is going to be great. George coming out says, bro, I Justin Fields. I won by less than a point. Hell yes. Happy to see that, my man. Okay, so I apologize. Going back to the A.J. Brown question between Diggs and A.J. Brown, I think I would still probably go Stephon Diggs. I mean, with A.J. Brown coming back this first week back in, I'm probably not going to be super excited to just go through and jam him into the starting lineup. I'm not expecting Gabriel Davis to walk away with multiple receiving touchdowns off of like 6 targets every single week. Connor says, what is up with Leonard Fournette? Looks like Fournette's going to be missing this week. Looks like you're going to have to be going and grabbing Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones won't step into that same workload 1-for-1 with Leonard Fournette because he's not going to get the same level of involvement as a receiver. And really quick, I forgot to even go through and explain what we are doing on Underdog Fantasy. I know a lot of people probably aren't used to seeing some sickos draft a 2022 team with real money on the line, and they are probably wondering, Mason, how the hell are you going to go through and do the waiver wire? I mean, submit your starting lineup on this team next year. This is a best ball draft. If you are unfamiliar with the best ball draft, what happens is I'm going to go through and I'm going to draft this team. I am never going to see it again. Actually, I'm a sicko, so I'll probably go through and I'll probably be looking at the standings as the season goes on. But your automatic best starting lineup gets submitted for you at the end of the week, every single week next year, and there are no waiver wires. We're going to draft 20 rounds here. You're going to take pretty much any player that could ever be anything. So you're never going to, I mean, you literally can't manage this team in the season. The rosters are locked the second the draft ends. And you can, of course, go through and you're going to be able to monitor the standings, seeing how your team's going to shape up. But outside of that, you're not going to be able to really, I mean, you don't want to be spending a bunch of time on a $5 draft. We did over 200 of these drafts coming into the season because you don't have to spend that much time on them. And here we're going to take Darren Waller. Darren Waller is still plenty young. Darren Waller was a tight end that we were taking in the 2nd round on these Underdog drafts last season. When we take Darren Waller, we're only going to have to take 2 tight ends. We don't have to take 3. So let's go Darren Waller at the 405. Completely comfortable with that selection. Okay, so our next one, Blake says, you're all good, man. LL, you brought me back from an 0-5 start. Happy to hear that, my friend. And I'll say, yeah, real quick, we're going through and looking at the fact that if you're 0-5, your chances of making the fantasy football playoffs are hilariously low. They're like 1 or 2%. I remember reading some like Yahoo Fantasy article, and they're like 1 or 2%. Laughably low. Happy to hear that you're able to make it back. Okay, so Mushu coming out says, do you have a video for best dynasty settings for a new league? I need to go through and I need to make a video of best dynasty settings for a new league. I know a lot of people are getting into dynasty fantasy football this season, and I definitely think that you should look to go get into a dynasty league. In my opinion, there's no better way to play fantasy football outside of dynasty fantasy football. I don't have a video just yet, but I'll go through and I'll make one for everybody. Just some quick parameters. If you're going to open up a dynasty league, it has to be super flex. Not only does it have to be super flex, you need to at least have 25 roster spots, preferably 12 teams at the same time. Okay, so Dreadful Horror says, is Eckler going to play next week? Also, is Swift supposed to be back, and is it worth starting A.J. Brown? Okay, so the A.J. Brown question is going to be really dependent on your roster. I mean, there's not much I can say outside of that. I mean, with Austin Eckler, reports earlier today were saying that he was going on the COVID list, and then you had conflicting reports tonight about that same thing. I mean, right now, you're looking at Austin Eckler, and they're saying, well, he wasn't placed on the COVID list today. There's a possibility that he is placed on the COVID list next week, which of course will be something that we need to be going through and looking out for. But outside of that, I mean, if we're looking at DeAndre Swift, reports are saying that he is supposed to practice this week. Now, don't necessarily know if we're going to see that. We're just going to have to kind of sit here and wait, but it looks like he's supposed to practice. And keep in mind, they didn't put him on the IR in this team. I mean, if they wanted to shut him down, they could have put him on the IR by now. And then Zach says, what's the favorite team through 4 rounds? Okay, so let's go through. Let's check. Obviously, getting Taylor here at the 101. I mean, this is a pretty strong start, being able to go 4 running backs in a row. I mean, specifically just getting Taylor. Luke, Mixon, Chubb. I really like these back-to-back running backs starts if you're not having to reach on the player. Mixon, Chubb, Andrews, Etienne. I actually really like this start. I think I probably would have preferred it a little bit more if you would have grabbed a wide receiver here instead in the 4th round rather than Travis Etienne. You know what? I'm perfectly fine with Travis Etienne in the 4th. I really like this team just because, I mean, with this being a best ball format and you being able to get random spike weeks later on in your lineup, perfect examples, someone like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think that's going to be a fine spot. And then we have Mason coming out, says, are you only doing best ball drafts? At this time of the year, hell yeah, I'm only going to do best ball drafts. We're going to be doing dynasty drafts over there on Patreon, of course. But if we're just talking about 2022 leagues, there's no way in hell I'm going to go through and get into a league that I need to manage, that I need to go through and work the waiver wire with, that I need to go through and submit a starting lineup every week. I'm not going to be jumping into those leagues because, I mean, I want to have a small handful of those that I can pay attention to and dedicate enough time to as the season goes on. And those are going to be my high stakes leagues. Like we had a league that was, I mean, $1,000 league this past season. And of course, with those, I'm going to be fine going through and submitting the starting lineup because it's worth my time. It's worth my time to go out of my way and do that. But I'm not going to be jumping into $1,000 league in December. Like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. So yeah, right now we're going to stick it with very cheap best ball drafts because just mainly here to have fun, just mainly here to go through and get prepared for the tournaments that they're going to have in the middle of the year. Isaac coming out. Thank you, my friend. Massive donation says, so this is my first year playing Underdog. At the top, it says winnings and at stake. Also, a few drafts are listed under the results section and a few $100 got added to my account. I'm asking for clarification. Okay, so don't necessarily know exactly what you're asking here. Let me go through and I can show y'all what mine looks like. Okay, let me pull this up so I can pivot over to this tab. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. And keep in mind, Isaac, I don't have every answer here. And what's interesting is I kind of see one thing that you're saying. Okay, you know what actually makes sense here? So we did over 200 drafts on Underdog Fantasy this year, but if you're looking at our overview right now, it only says 135. And the reason for that is I think any of those puppy drafts you did, any of those big dog drafts you did, any of those best ball mania drafts that you did, if you did not get to the fantasy football playoff tournament, I think they went through and they removed those drafts. Actually, we're going to be on the clock really quick. We need to make our pick. Ooh, we are right now in a draft. Oh my God. Oh my God. I forgot how to get back to it. Okay, looks like we're going to get auto-drafted. Okay, we're going to get auto-drafted because we were wanting to go through and show the sizing. But nonetheless, let me go through, figure out how to show this. Okay, so can I scroll this down? No, I can't. God dang it. Let me just figure out how to show this to y'all. Okay, maybe I can scroll it down here. Okay, so like you'll see in overview, it says we have $4,000 at stake. Keep in mind, they took out a lot of the drafts here that didn't make it to the playoffs, and 7,400 in winnings. And if you go down to our big dog drafts, these are the ones that we've been monitoring a ton. You're going to see that we have, 3 teams here in contention. 3 teams are winning tickets to the next round. So really, those tickets are going to be way more valuable than the winnings. Like when it says we're winning $7,000, that doesn't account for the chances that we have for the $25,000 in the next round, the $100,000 in the round after that. So you need to be paying attention to the tickets that you have. I definitely don't know why, but with this little tab on Underdog Fantasy, it's something that it's hard to track. Like if you were going through and if you were getting into just a bunch of regular drafts that weren't the tournament drafts, then yeah, that overview would actually be very useful. But when you're getting into the tournaments, the overview doesn't necessarily make that much sense, because what is way more important is just to be able to go through and look at how many teams you're getting to the next round. Okay, so what's funny is we got auto-drafted, and we got auto-drafted a player that I do not mind at all. Yeah, let's look at this. So I got auto-drafted Adam Thielen at the 605. Adam Thielen is not my guy. I will definitely say that. But at the 605, I'm fine with the price. We needed a wide receiver. And why I kind of like it is because we're continuing to build in correlation with the Minnesota Vikings here. Now we have Dalvin, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. And Isaac, please let me know in the general chat. Please do not feel the need to donate again. Let me know if I did a good job answering the question. I don't exactly know what the question is, but I could see the confusion with the at stake in the winnings and the amount of drafts that are at the top. Okay, so let's go through and look at our next one. And JN coming out says, I wouldn't count on Higbee starting. If Kupp has 18.3 points, Adeyemi finishes under 6.9, and Everett 2.7, you'll finish first place in our room. I know, my man. I also have, JN and I are in the same big dog room where we're going through and we're trying to fight for those top 2 spots. That way we can both advance. My man, I not only need Tyler Higbee back in that room, but I also need Tyler Higbee in another draft. There are 2 of those big dog leagues that I showed y'all. And keep in mind, the big dog, if we advance those teams, we have a very real chance at $100,000. Like I have been stressing with those teams. We have 2 of those teams with Tyler Higbee, and only Tyler Higbee essentially at tight end. Like we'll have Tyler Higbee and like Donald Parham or someone like Tyler Higbee and someone that put up, like, I think one of the leagues we have Tyler Higbee and Logan Thomas, where Tyler Higbee has to come off the COVID list. If Higbee doesn't come off the COVID list, we are dunskies. Okay, so our next one coming out, Foster says, down 4 and he still has Terry McLaurin yet to play. I can either roll out Penny, Sony Michel, or Darrell Henderson in a PPR format. Help me, please. Thank you, my man, for coming out to the live stream. Of course, I don't think you play Sony Michel. With Darrell Henderson off the COVID IR, I'm going to be expecting that Darrell Henderson is the lead running back here. Let me see if Alex, you know what? I'm going to break it down as if Alex Collins is active, I think you go Darrell Henderson, and honestly, you don't even really consider it. But they're also going to have Travis Homer back in here. I think we're going to go Darrell Henderson over Rashad Penny. I am worried that Darrell Henderson's going to be in a pseudo committee with Sony Michel, where Darrell Henderson maybe sees 60% of the snaps and Sony Michel sees 40%. But to look at what we have in Seattle, you're going to see a very similar breakdown with the amount of snaps played from Rashad Penny compared to all the secondary running backs there. And with Darrell Henderson, we have a longer sample, and he's going to be playing in the better offense. So if we're going to get the running back that's playing in the better offense with a similar workload, Rashad Penny's my guy, but it's probably a smart call just to go through and play Henderson. Okay, so now let's get our next pick up here so we can go anyway. We have a very balanced roster so far. Cooks, I have no idea where we're going to go. We probably should have pulled this up a little bit beforehand. When in doubt, go Tom Brady. I know this is a horrible pick. You can get away with drafting 2 elite quarterbacks in best ball, and a lot of those teams that did very good this year in those tournaments had 2 elite quarterbacks. I think it's a much better strategy to implement closer to the season And keep in mind, in a regular fantasy football league, of course you're not doing it. But here, based on the idea that your highest automatic starting lineup gets submitted for you after the end of the week, we can essentially guarantee ourselves that we're going to have close to the quarterback one every single week in this league. But the issue with doing this right now at this point in the season is, I think, based on the uncertainty that we're going to have with a lot of those double-digit round picks once we're getting to rounds 12, 13, 14, and we're taking guys that we're not even sure are going to be on NFL rosters, I think it's probably bad to do this here. If it was closer to the season, I'd be fine with it. But right now, it's probably pretty bad. Jay coming out says, if Stafford scores 25 as well, I'll make the 2 spot, and Everett would need more than 8.2 points tomorrow. It'll be it will definitely be nerve-wracking. And what's crazy is I believe they're getting played at the same time. Thomas coming out says, I need to par him in so many leagues. I honestly hate what happened to Donald Parham. Not that, like, let me take a step. Obviously, everybody hates that. But what pissed me off is when I was watching that game, did y'all notice the commentators were just like, oh, Donald Parham, he dropped the touchdown. He dropped the touchdown. He dropped it. Like, just talking about the fact that he dropped the ball when the man, like, was paralyzed on the ground. Like, it was the most disturbing thing ever that they just completely overlooked that. Like, it was so damn sad to see. Now, Foster says, I think only Penny and Dallas activated. Okay. If only Penny and Dallas are good to go, I think you can play Rashad Penny. But I thought that you were actually going to have Travis Homer good to go. Okay, so now we're going to have, I believe we're going to take Darrell Henderson here, actually. Henderson's a running back that, of course, you're expecting Akers to come back this next year, but Cam Akers, even though y'all know I'm a noted Cam Akers lover. I mean, I love Cam Akers. At the end of the day, he's coming back from a torn Achilles. That's one of the most devastating injuries in football. So we will take Darrell Henderson as our running back 3 here, honestly. It's probably a bad draft. Isaac says, I was curious if winnings was how much you are projected to win or how much you have won. Then I got confused when the money got added to my account. I got 330 added, but my winning says 1,000. Yeah, okay, so that's exactly what it is. So if you're like looking at that $7,000 that it says on our winnings right now, those are for the leagues that we still have active. So right now, if we're in first place, they're going through and they are just, accounting for the fact that we're probably going to get first. So that's the projection, and that's going to be on the winnings. But say you got bounced from a tournament. Say you go through and you got into a puppy draft and you got third and you did not advance, but you still won something. Then that money is automatically going to be accredited to your account whenever you get bounced from the tournament and whenever that team is done. But while that team is still active, they're not going to go through and pay you the first place prize before you actually officially get first there. So then it will show it as winnings at the very top, saying that's what you're projected to win. And then once you actually win it, then it'll get accredited to your account. Or once you lose and you get second place instead, then the second place will. Okay, so Connor says, Mason, I'm pretty sure you forgot about Gibson in the Dynasty video today. Yes, I did forget about Gibson in the Dynasty video today. I noticed that whenever we went to read the comment section, I was like, oh, I wonder how this video's doing. I wonder how people like it. And everybody was just like, oh, where's Antonio Gibson? I was like, oh my God, that's very bad. Like Jimmy coming out says, I'm winning by 12. He has Terry McLaurin, Gerald Everett, and Devonta Smith. I have Stafford and can start Gibson, Sanders, or Penny at running back 2. Looking for the safe play. I would go with Antonio Gibson definitely as the safe play here. Let me check if J.D. McKissic is going to be playing this game. I mean, last I saw, it looked like J.D. McKissic wasn't going to be playing, but there's a chance with that game getting pushed back to Tuesday. Earlier today he was ruled out. So with J.D. McKissic being ruled out, I think it's probably a very safe spot to go through and look to play Antonio Gibson. Okay, we messed this up whenever we went through to show off the question for Isaac. Thomas says, very sad for Parham. Looks like he'll be okay. Yeah, no, that was one of the saddest things. I mean, to have that happen to Parham and then Teddy Bridgewater in the same week, that was very, very sad. Okay, so Foster says, another draft on this. Okay, we'll get another draft going this week. The thing is, these are 20-round drafts. And to be honest, I've live streamed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours over the past 6 months. I don't know if we can go much longer. We're probably going to be doing one draft today. At the beginning of the season, right before the year, y'all know we were getting 4 drafts every single live stream. With these $5 drafts, I'm doing them mainly for fun, mainly so I can have something to do as we go through and answer your questions. And also, I want to be able to have a good understanding for Dynasty Fantasy Football, the projections in 2022, as well as just kind of be able to navigate the draft board once the tournaments open up. I hate this DJ Chark pick. I hate this DJ Chark pick at the 904. And I like DJ Chark coming into the season. Okay, so now we cannot take a quarterback the rest of the draft. We are exclusively running back, wide receiver, tight end. Yeah, so Jalen Hurts at the 907. Honestly, that really helps us. We needed quarterbacks off the board. I honestly think we're probably going to go Odell Beckham. The issue is he with Los Angeles next year? We're going to go Odell because if you look at any of these other wide receivers that are all uncertain as well, Rondale Moore's slightly intriguing, knowing that with Rondale Moore, you're not going to have A.J. Green probably back. And at the same time, Christian Kirk is a free agent. You don't know where Christian Kirk will be this next season. But with Odell Beckham Jr., honestly, he has been much more impressive than I wanted to give him credit for going over to Los Angeles. So we're going to go through and take him where he's looking like he is the wide receiver 2 there right now. Okay, Jeremy says Patterson going in the 5th round. Let me go through. Yeah, Cordell Patterson at the 502. Honestly, a couple of those, like I know Patterson, that's definitely way behind his ADP. His ADP had him going in about the 2nd, 3rd round. I can't get that. I think this is actually a very nice price on Leonard Fournette. Whenever he was going at the beginning of the 2nd, I thought that Leonard Fournette price was a little bit steep considering the fact that it's a running back that's a free agent this offseason and we're not guaranteed to get him back in Tampa. But I think at the 305, this is a great price on Leonard Fournette. And the same thing, I mean, whenever we had Cordell Patterson going here in like the 2nd, 3rd round, I thought it was very steep for a running back that's 30 years old that we finally get this breakout for. And I don't think the situation lines up as nicely next year. But getting him at the 502, this is a lot more palatable. And also, real quick, this James Conner pick at the 604, I really don't like the James Conner pick. This is why, like, we go through and take Josh Jacobs here, knowing that Josh Jacobs has that guaranteed contract next season, how he was selected in the 1st round of 2019, and also Kenyon Drake with the devastating injury. But here with James Conner, I mean, this is a running back that signed a 1-year prove-it deal this past year. He's not under contract in Arizona this next season. Now, there's a chance that he gets re-signed, but we don't know that for sure. So that's why we're going through and like taking the combination of Adam Thielen and Josh Jacobs rather than the combination of Keenan Allen, James Conner, because we know that Josh Jacobs will be playing. Okay, so we got some tight ends going off the board. Honestly, we kind of needed that. Okay, let's go through and let's take a receiver here. I guess we could take Noah Fant. I think Noah Fant is a really nice value in these drafts. The thing is, if we take Noah Fant, we're done at tight end. So let's go through. Logan Thomas, I think you have to drastically push down your board knowing that he has that injury probably lingering into the beginning of next season. We take Noah Fant here. We're going to cannibalize a lot of those top level tight ends. It's going to be one of the last guys in the tier. Yeah, we're going to go through and we're going to take Noah Fant. It's going to put us in a very bad position at running back, a very bad position at wide receiver, but we're going to be able to go slim at those positions. So we're going to go 2 quarterbacks, have the elite level quarterback, have the elite level tight end as well. We're going to draft 6 running backs here, and we're going to draft 8 wide receivers, hoping that with the best ball format, we're able to just kind of piece things together on a week-to-week basis. Isaac coming out says, okay, makes sense. I deposited around 1K, so I'm projected to win 1,086 so far, then that's a profit. Maybe this guy, Mason, knows. Happy to hear that you're going to be profitable on Underdog Fantasy. A big thing is if you do those tournaments, if you can break even on a year-to-year basis without a big win, and I know that's a bad way to look at it, in my mind, that is a successful season. Because on Underdog Fantasy, like if you're, say, going through and getting into the big dog draft, you're getting in there going, we're the most likely outcome based on the tournament structure. It's as if you go over to one of the DFS sites and you enter in a bunch of tournament lineups. The most likely outcome, or if you go and you play a bunch of poker tournaments, the most likely outcomes, you lose money. But if you go through and you enter 100 of them, if you get that one spike week where not spike week, if you get lucky in that tournament and you end up finishing 3rd and then you get the bag, then you're free rolling the next decade. So that's what right now I got so lucky this year, to be completely honest, because those $5 drafts that we were doing, $10 drafts that we were doing, I did not do well in those, but the $250 drafts we crushed. And of course, that's not skill at all. It's not like I'm coming out here and saying, okay, I'm Mason Dodd. I'm going to be really good at fantasy. I'm going to be really good in these $250 drafts and really bad in these $5 drafts. No, we just got lucky. We got lucky. So I'm going to end up making a decent amount of money on Underdog Fantasy this year, but I think I got lucky more than anything. Okay, so Finley coming out to suspend waiver wire on Jeff Wilson or Ronald Jones. I would actually probably prefer to go through and pick up. I would pick up Jeff Wilson for this week, Ronald Jones for the next 2, because Elijah Mitchell has cleared concussion protocol. However, with Elijah Mitchell still dealing with that knee injury, I think that you actually get Jeff Wilson starting, and I would prefer Jeff Wilson if he does start over Ronald Jones this week. Louis coming out says, yo, I'm desperate. Need one non-PPR. Quarterfinals, down 15. Miles Sanders, Sony Michel, and Devonta Smith. Washington has a ton of people with COVID. Need your best. Thank you, my friend, of course, for supporting the channel. I don't know what to say here. We can't go Sony Michel. When Darrell Henderson's activated, you can't play Sony Michel. There's no way in hell that you can do that. I mean, I think there's a maybe 4% chance that Sony Michel is able to score 15 points in a non-PPR format with an active Darrell Henderson. And that's just if he gets lucky and he falls into the end zone a couple times. I think it really just does come down between Miles Sanders and Devonta Smith. With Sanders, the issue is it looks like Jordan Howard is going to be good to go. Let me just double check on this report. If Jordan Howard is good to go, I'm probably expecting that this is going to be close to a committee. Okay, so Jordan Howard, yes, Jordan Howard reports as of 8 hours ago he expects to play. Let's see. Boston Scott looks like he's going to play as well. I mean, it is what it is with Boston Scott. PPR, I probably go Devonta Smith. Non-PPR, I probably go Miles Sanders. I think that's very close, my friend. Just please, for the love of God, do not, and I repeat, do not play Sony Michel. And Jacob coming out says, hey, Mason, been watching your videos / streams since early in the season. I'm the number 2 seed in a 12-team league heading into week 2 of my round 1 game, up 26 partially thanks to you. Love the content, bro. We'll be tuning in all offseason. Thank you, my friend, for so much for supporting the channel. And speaking of the offseason here, and also, of course, not only thank you for supporting the channel, but also congrats on the fantasy football success this year. I don't know how often I'm going to be uploading on this channel. I am honestly probably expecting that this channel is going to go dormant. I'm probably expecting not to upload much here and instead primarily focus in on the Dynasty Fantasy Football channel. If y'all don't know, this YouTube channel that we have right now, the Fantasy Flock Network, this started as a Dynasty Fantasy Football channel. Dynasty Fantasy Football, that is my true passion. That's, I mean, what I've loved doing, pretty much my favorite thing in life since 2014. That's what I really enjoy doing. Of course, I mean, way more people play redraft, and when we kind of transitioned this over to a redraft channel, whenever we had some videos go, quote unquote, viral for fantasy football, whatever that means. But that Dynasty Fantasy Football channel, that's where I'm going to be all offseason. I'm going to be making a video there every single day, literally starting today. Today was the first day of the offseason where we're going to be making a video every single day there until the kickoff of 2022. And Will coming out says, Dak or Allen. Okay, so here I think you're going to go Josh Allen. Actually, New England obviously is a very tough matchup. Concerned about the New England defense, and I have a good shot at the championship. Thanks. The issue with Dak Prescott, I saw that I think he is a bottom 5 quarterback on a points per game basis. No, what it was is he was a bottom 20. He was outside the top 20 quarterbacks or something of the sort on a points per game basis over the past 5 weeks. I don't know why I'm trying to memorize this stat when we can just go through and we can just look this up. But Dak Prescott's been pretty damn bad as of late, and there's been no excuse for it either. Yeah, Dak Prescott over the past 5 weeks, real quick, let me get a pick going here. Probably just going to end up taking another wide receiver that we know is going to have a role. Where do we go, Jamal Williams? It's Corey Davis or Jamal Williams. We desperately need wide receivers that are going to play. We're going to take Corey Davis here. Okay. So nonetheless, let's go through and let's look at what we have had in weeks 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 for Dak Prescott. That is indeed the past 5. And on a per game basis in those games, Dak Prescott is the quarterback 27 behind Zach Wilson. Dak Prescott has been bad. Dak Prescott in the past 5 games has had a total of 5 passing touchdowns. He's had one game with over 300 passing yards. And, of course, we know with Dak at this point, he just isn't going to rush the ball at all. I mean, you have almost more rushing upside with Tom Brady. The thing with Josh Allen is I think you have to drastically lower your expectations based on the matchup, but he is still a quarterback that can get there based off of his rushing ability, if that makes sense. So it'd be a little, I think that's honestly up to you, my friend. And our next question coming out from Suraj Patel. It says, over for me, bud. Thanks, Phil. I am so sorry to hear that, my friend. Very sorry to hear that. Hope you had a fun season. And obviously, this was just a horrible week from a fantasy football standpoint. Okay, so Froley Camper says, probably out this week. Thanks for all the help. Looking forward to joining a Dynasty League on Patreon. I am, again, sorry, my man, for the loss this week. Happy to have you in a Dynasty League with us over there on Patreon, though. Excited to get those going this season. I'll tell you right now, you will be obsessed with Dynasty Fantasy Football. You'll be obsessed. Now, Foster coming out says, how are you so certain it's Henderson 1, Sony Michel 2? Okay, so the reason I'm certain in this is I know that Sony Michel's looked very good, and Sony Michel's definitely earned himself a role on this offense. But we can actually go back and we can actually look at Sony Michel previously this season. I mean, in Darrell Henderson's absence, coming through and looking pretty decent. I mean, Sony Michel was actually able to go out there in week three. Week 3, this is the perfect example. He has 20 carries and 4 targets out of the backfield against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he has almost 25 touches against one of the best run defenses in the entire NFL in week 3. Does anybody want to take a guess on how many touches Sony Michel had the following week? 3. Like, we have seen Sony Michel come out before and have that very large bell cow level workload. And like I said, I am going to be expecting that Sony Michel is splitting this backfield with Darrell Henderson. I am no longer expecting Darrell Henderson to be a running back coming in and getting 85+% of the snaps. But I think that this is probably going to be a 60-40, 65-35 in the favor of Darrell Henderson, because every single time they've both been healthy this season, we have seen them go in the direction of Darrell Henderson. Okay, so now we're going to be up at the 1308s. Ronald Jones goes at the 1305. Keel Herbert at the 1306. Okay. Interesting to see Carson Wentz still available. Well, we can't take a quarterback. We can't take a tight end either. We are exclusively running back and receiver. Ooh, there is a very nice pick here. Okay. Yeah, we're going to fire him up. Yeah, we're going to go Devin Singletary. With Devin Singletary, this is a running back drafted in 2019, still on his rookie deal. I mean, he's playing every single snap right now for the Buffalo Bills. Clearly, they have their trust. I mean, yes, there's an outside chance that they go through and they add someone to the running back room this offseason. But, I mean, if we're comparing him the same light as someone like Ronald Jones, who's not under contract next year, Keel Herbert, I mean, Raheem Mostert, I think Devin Singletary is a fantastic selection at the 1308. And Luke coming out says, down by 4, I have Dallas Goedert and he has DK Metcalf. What's it looking like? By the way, I won this draft with the 11th pick. Okay, well, let's go through and let's dive into that team. And if you're down by 4, you have Goddard and he has DK Metcalf, I'll say you're most likely losing it, my friend. You're most likely losing it. Let me see if we had any updates on Tyler Lockett. Obviously, you want Lockett to play here. Okay, Tyler Lockett, nope, no updates on Tyler Lockett and if he's going to be coming off the COVID list. If you're down by 4 and you have Goddard, he has Metcalf. I mean, I'd prefer Metcalf over Goddard. I think you're probably going to be the underdog. Now, Jacob coming out says, I found you at the start of the season. Just wanted to say thanks for the content. First round of the playoffs, up by 32.9. Opponent has Gibson and Goddard left. Thank you for supporting the channel, my friend. Obviously, the hope here is with Washington being decimated with COVID. You're really hoping that, I mean, this Washington football offense isn't going to be able to get anything going. Now, that being said, no J.D. McKissick. I think that is going to give a very large workload to Antonio Gibson. So it's going to be close. It's going to be very close. I think that's about as close to a 50-50 as possible. I'd probably prefer the points, though. I'd probably prefer the 32.9 points. Okay, so now let's go through, pull up our next pick. Irv Smith Jr. Okay, we need to go and evaluate our pick in Noah Fant. Because knowing that we're looking at Irv Smith Jr. here or Tim Patrick, like whoever we took, Noah Fant over at wide receiver is probably significantly better than who we have in this range. And you know what? We're probably going to go with Donovan Peoples-Jones here. Maybe this is just recency bias, was looking at this past week. But in the case of Tim Patrick, you are going to get KJ Hamler back this next season. So yeah, let's go Donovan Peoples-Jones. Okay, so let me go and reevaluate what we had. Actually, let's look at two things. Let's look at Luke's team, and let's also look at how bad our Noah Fant pick most likely was. So first, let me look at the Noah Fant pick before we forget. Noah Fant at the 10:05. We decided to take him over Juju Smith-Schuster. We decided to take him over Christian Kirk, Kenny Golladay, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, so we took Noah Fant over some quality receivers. I mean, running backs, I don't necessarily think Hubbard and Edwards are anybody that we need to be focusing in on. And we could have, instead of gone Noah Fant and Donovan Peoples-Jones, we could have gone Juju Smith-Schuster and Irv Smith Jr. And I can guarantee you the Juju Smith-Schuster and Irv Smith Jr. side of that would have been better. I mean, Irv Smith Jr. and Noah Fant, they're like the same tight end for me at this point. Like, this is fantastic value at the 1408. Well, let's go through and let's check out Luke's team. Okay, so he's gone through. He took 3 quarterbacks. I'll say, first off, don't love the 3 quarterback strategy if you're going with 2 of them very early. Like if you are, say, waiting and you're grabbing the combination of, say, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, and Trevor Lawrence, and you're getting them in this range, hell yeah, go through and get 3, try to capture those spike weeks. But if you're having Rodgers and Watson at the very top of this draft, I think to take Mac Jones in the 12th, even if you like the value, I probably would have decided to go somewhere else. And then I really like the first 4 rounds here. I mean, as we were saying, this is one of my favorite drafts through the first 4 rounds out of this entire one. I mean, Hollywood, Elijah Moore. I think that this is a good team overall. I like the wide receiver profiles that we're trying to get. I just think the issue that I would have with this roster in particular would probably be going through and taking the 3rd quarterback here at the 12:02 rather than just grabbing another wide receiver. I think I would have probably rather grabbed someone like Corey Davis over Mac Jones, considering you have to start 3, and obviously it's a best ball format as well. Okay, so now Mean Bean coming down says, I need some upside. Brady and Chase really hurt me. I'm down by 14.5 in a PPR. Should I go Penny or possibly split backfield with Darrell Henderson? The thing with Rashad Penny is he's probably in a split backfield as well. And y'all know I'm a Rashad Penny fanboy. But the thing is, I think you're viewing both of them as pseudo committee running backs. And I think that with Darrell Henderson, he's going to be playing in a better offense. So if Darrell Henderson's going to be playing in a better offense, you're probably going to go in the direction of Darrell Henderson. And okay, now that we're getting to the point of the draft where Adam Troutman, Josh Palmer are going off the board, we are going to end up ending this draft soon. We're probably going to make this next pick in the 15th round, and then we'll probably be ending the live stream. Of course, I'll be going through and I'll be finishing this draft afterwards from a roster construction standpoint, just to let you know where we'll stand. We'll probably grab 7 running backs. We'll probably grab 9 receivers, 2 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends, unless we get a great value on quarterback or tight end later on in the stream. And Ross says, will there be another draft? Yeah, we're going to do definitely more drafts later on this week. Like we've gone through, this is, I mean, like our 10th draft that we've done over the past 2 weeks, but we're going to be continuing to get them. We'll get another one going tomorrow night after the games. So of course, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK, find the link in the live chat and get that first deposit matched dollar for dollar up to $100. You can also go and get in a league with some random people in the random lobby. You don't have to go through and get in a league on the live stream, even though of course you definitely can do that. And we'll be live streaming again, but just not tonight. I don't want to be staying up until 1 a.m. here. And let me pivot over and let's look at our next selection. We're probably going to go Kenyon Drake. Yeah, we're just going to take Drake. And then from here, we are going to end up taking 2 more running backs. Then we're going to be taking 3 more wide receivers. Foster says 4 tight ends is the strat. I don't know if 4 tight ends is the strat. I'll say I saw some teams in the big dog coming into the tournament with 4 tight ends, which was interesting. I think I'm capping my tight ends at 3. But of course, thank y'all so much for coming out. Really hope that y'all enjoyed this live stream. And I really hope that you're able to win this week. If not, hey, you should have listened better. Of course, thank y'all so much for supporting the channel. Hope that we get to see you out in live stream tomorrow night. And real quick, Caden says, gun to your head tomorrow. Does Goddard get 10 points? PPR, yes. If he does, I lose out. Cousins, Cook, and Jefferson let me down. I'll say real quick, Jefferson, he did okay for you. And I would say Goddard most likely gets 10 points, but it's definitely going to be something you're watching till the end. Hopefully this is a non-PPR or half PPR league, and you got a better shot there. And of course, thank you all so much for being a part of the flock. Wishing you all the best of luck, and see you all tomorrow night.